What's going on, guys? Dr. Andrew Fix back here for another episode on the code. Thank you so much for tuning in to spend some time with us and listen to this episode, beginning with the end in mind. And maybe you've heard that phrase before. We'll get to where it sort of comes from in a moment, but how this sort of came up, we'll jump right into it today. How this sort of came up was, I'm listening to a new book on Audible that I purchased recently. The author, Dr. Peter Attia, and the book is called Outlive. He's been working on this for a number of years, and it finally came out, and I'm really enjoying it. Outlive: The Science and Art of Longevity. And if you've listened to Peter Attia's podcast or seen any of the content that's out there on the internet that he posts, you'll know that most of it is longevity driven, right? He's talking about how can we maximize not only our lifespan, but our health span. Like, how can we live and be functional into the later years of our life? And what can you do to set yourself up well now? But, I was listening to the book and we were going through this chapter. I believe I'm in like chapter 3 or 4. And something that he said that he asks all of his patients and clients that he works with, like, what do they want to be able to do when they get to a certain age? What type of activity and function are they hoping to have? And based off of their answer, what do they need to be doing now to prepare themselves in order to do that? And it just kind of got me thinking of this phrase, like, begin with the end in mind. Where do you want to be? So that, like, what is the desired outcome that you're looking for, so that you can devise a plan and action steps of how you're going to get there. And where I realized that comes from is another book that I have by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Maybe you have had the opportunity to read this before. I believe I've read it once, maybe listened to it once. So I know I've been through it one time, potentially two. But Stephen Covey's book here, it's very popular. It has sold millions and millions and millions of copies. And it was published years ago. Still extremely popular book. And it's because the information in there is pretty darn timeless, right? It still all holds true, regardless how many years goes by since this was published. And out of his 7 habits, this is number 2, beginning with the end in mind. And pretty much what it means, right, is to begin each day, each task, each project, each whatever you're working on with a clear vision and direction of where you want to wind up. What is the desired outcome that you are looking for? Another way that they sort of describe this is, like, we all know how powerful and impactful mental imagery and visualization can be, but that's basically what this is. Like, what is the mental visualization of what you have in mind? And that's the first step. And then the second step is, like, the actual physical creation of what you had imagined in your mind. And that's you finally getting to what you had pictured you were going to get to. A lot of goal setting information is based off of this stuff, right? Like, what is your big, huge someday goal? What's your big, audacious goal that you hope to achieve? So that we can then set steps in a plan, like smaller action steps of how you're actually going to get there. Like, how are you going to get to this big goal? Let's put the huge goal down there on the whiteboard, and then let's work backwards and create a stepwise fashion of how you are going to tick things off along the way in order to get to that, right? How are you going to create the plan that's going to get you to what you said you wanted to do? And ultimately that's what we try to do with our clients, even at Physio Room, right? And I know there are a lot of other places, not just Physio Room, that try to do the same thing. But when we have a client come in the office, say they have knee pain, for example, at the end of the day, it's not about fixing their knee pain. It's not about getting their knee pain to go away. That's just a very small piece of the puzzle, right? Of course, we hope to do that. And we hope to do that with the assistance of the client. We can't necessarily do it for them. But it's not about the knee pain. It's about the end goal. It's about the desired outcome that they're looking for. Maybe they're a runner. Maybe they're a cyclist. And they have knee pain, and that's preventing them from doing the training that they know they need to and want to do in order to achieve this outcome that they're looking for, right? Maybe they're training for a big race. Here in Colorado, the Colfax marathon, half marathon and whatnot is about to come up in about a month. A lot of people are training for that. We just had the Boston Marathon recently. A lot of people completed that. You know, that's more what it's about. It's like, what's the outcome that you're looking for? Okay, I want to be able to run X race, or I want to be able to run 20 miles or 2 miles or whatever that might be, but I have knee pain and that's stopping me. Okay, well then let's figure out the motivation of that. Why do you want to be able to run 2 miles or 20 miles, or why do you want to run this race? Maybe there's a very deeply instilled like internal motivation of why that person or you want to be able to do that thing. And that's great, right? We need to know that information in order to help hold you or hold that client accountable in the office. And when you're setting goals for yourself, like what this episode's talking about, beginning with the end in mind, you need something that's going to motivate you day in and day out, hold you accountable to do the smaller steps that are going to help you reach that outcome, because it's not just going to happen just because you wrote it down on a piece of paper, right? So as I was listening to the book I mentioned before, Outlive by Peter Attia, one of the questions, right, that he asks a lot of his clients, and I think this is an awesome question, what level of function or what types of activities do you see yourself doing, or do you want to be able to do when you are blank age, right? So you fill in the blank. When you're 85, what do you want your life to look like? What type of things do you want to be able to do? And based off of that answer, okay, well, what do we need to start doing right now in order for you to be able to do that when you reach 85 years old? And I'm going to actually pull up a quote here so I don't mess it up. We actually just posted another Peter Attia quote on our social media for Physio Room a few days ago, and that's the age that he used, 85. If you have the aspiration of kicking ass when you're 85 years old, you can't afford to be average when you're 50, right? Because at the end of the day, father time, mother time, whatever you want to call it, Mother Nature waits for none of us. Unfortunately, starting at a relatively young age, like in our 30s, our physical fitness, our health, all of that stuff begins to decline as we age. We start to lose muscle mass. We lose aerobic capacity. Our VO2 max goes down with age typically, unless you are doing significant training in your life, in your early years, to try and progress and maintain these things to fight off the effects that aging and time has on all of our bodies. So if you're able to do a certain activity level now, and you are 50 years old, if you want to be able to do the same types of activities when you're 60 and 70 and 80 years old, you need to be training and you need to be trying to move the needle forward, because just staying where you are, not doing anything in addition, and then adding in the aging factor to that, unfortunately, your activity level, your function, your muscle mass, all of these things are going to decline. And then you're not going to have the capacity, you're not going to have the ability to do those things that you wanted. So think about, like, what do you need to do now in order to achieve whatever your answer would be to that type of question? If you were to begin with the end in mind, what is the end that you're looking for? And that's the question that I want to leave you guys with this episode is, what activity level and what activities do you want to be able to do in your later life at whatever age you fill in the blank with? Maybe it's 70, maybe it's 75, 85, 90. What do you want to be able to do at that particular age? And let's work backwards to figure out, what do you need to do? What do you need to start doing, continue doing, or stop doing now in order to help you achieve that desired outcome by starting with the end in mind? Thank you guys so much for tuning into this. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode and it got you thinking about the strategy of the things that you need to do in order to be the person that you want to be in the future. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Code. Talk to you later.